Hello, welcome to Telling It Like It Is, a little AFC East preview here on September 5th. Interesting day, actually September 4th, my bad, 2022. We just came in the booth. Lots of raise and a biscuit for being on the program at the upper biscuit salary. Let's dim the music there as we look at the AFC East, which is, I rank this as the fourth best division. It was either this one or the AFC North, and I had to go with the North being a little bit better. So this one's next. The reason was the Ravens and, of course, the Bengals. I know the Bills are great, but I feel like the Jets would be the worst out of those teams, even though I think the Jets are going to be better than maybe their number on the over-under is. But the AFC East is going to be fun here in New York. You know, we got the Bills, but down here it's all Jets and Giants here in Long Island. But their schedules this year, intra-conference, they got the AFC North, which will be interesting because there's nobody really terrible in there. The Steelers will be totally different, but we'll see what happens. The Steelers are a great organization, and this is where you put that to the test with the new quarterback coming into play there. Whether it be the rook or the veteran backup or career backup, we'll see. Interconference, they got the NFC North. That's my Vikes. 17th game is the team in the NFC West with a comparable record. And then, of course, they play the commiserate team in the same position in the division within their own conference besides the North. So it's going to be interesting. So should be fun. Of course, the Bills are the class of this division. I think this in the division where the Bucks are in the NFC South are probably the two most easily predicted divisions this year. But again, you never know. It could have an injury and things can happen, but we hope not. We hope everybody stays healthy. And, of course, the Bills will be the class of division. The Bills, if you remember, just did everything they could to win that game, but then mismanaged the clock a little bit on the defensive end of the ball. And so they lost to the Chiefs. But looking forward here, besides the looking at the schedules here, the Bills should be okay. Let's look at a couple of the numbers you see for the Bills here. Bills are predicted at negative 220 to win the division. Miami plus 450. Pats plus 500. That's a little surprising. Jets plus 2,400. Predictions for the records here. You got the AFC East predictions 13-4. New England Patriots 12-5. Dolphins 10-7. Jets 3-14. If you look at the Bills predictions here, obviously with Josh, he's a stud. He's one of the best players in the league. They just got to make sure they shore up their defense and have a little bit better management on the clock. The Bills would be excellent. It's always a tough place to play. Once you get past November up there, you never know what the hell happens with the weather, but they got a tough schedule. Bills' schedule is brutal. The Pats should be good this year. They did have a great first half last year. They did get a 5-1 division record last year, which, as you know, the division record just sets you apart for the rest of the year. Mac Jones hopefully can keep going. And of course, they got the best coach in, probably in my opinion, in NFL history. Got Bill Belichick behind the controls. Dolphins picked up Tyreek Hill to go with Tua. I like Tua. I think that they messed with Tua a little bit too much last year. I think he's got to be a quarterback going forward, and it can't be any of the shenanigans where we take him out. I think this guy's a winner. Let's let him play and see what happens. You don't have to be the perfect quarterback. Some people are just winners. All right. And that's the way you can still win with people like that. The Jets here in New York, I think Zach Wilson, he's hurt. So we'll see if Joe Flacco has a pulse. Usually he doesn't. It's just something that we're not sure, but they're, some places 3 wins. I think they're going to be better than that. I think they're going to get 6 or 7 wins, and we can go from there. But if we look at the schedules here, Bills, besides the usual suspects in the division, they got the Browns at home. Should be an interesting game. Again, depends what week you're playing them, because as we know, Deshaun will not be back for the first 11 games. Green Bay at home, that's going to be a great game. My Vikings at home, it's bad news for my Vikes. Steelers and the Titans. What a home schedule for the Bills. If you could find me a tougher home schedule for the Bills, out of your division, I'd like to see it. That is rough. Multiple teams this year, I think, will have better road records than home records, which is usually not the case. Dolphins, as usual suspects, Ravens, Bears, Bengals, Lions, Chiefs, and Rams. And this is where, if you're the Bills, you got to count on your wins. You got to get your Bears game. You got to get your Lions game. Those are 2 definites you have to have. And that's what happens in the NFL. It's such a short season. 17 games. You got to take your definite games. By the way, Chris Carter jersey today. All he does is catch touchdowns. Vikings ready to go. Hopefully my guy can coach. But the Pats are predicted to win 8.5 games. Bills 11.5 in some sites. Like I said, I just read to you. I mean, some other sites, different opinions. The Pats Bills Rams, what a great game that is. I mean, just incredible game that is. Just right off the bat, this will be a fun game. The coaches, after they win those great years like that and have such success, Bills thrown into this and they didn't even make it to the championship game. So you wonder just how in God's name did they get stuck in this game? But the Pats, Bills, Dolphins, and Jets, of course, usual suspects. But then they got the Ravens at home, Bears at home, Bengals at home, Lions at home, and the Colts at home. And here's the thing: if you're the Pats, you got to find a way to get those games in your division, and then you got to take care of business with the Bears, Lions, and the Colts. It's going to be a coin flip game. And that kind of game, like a Pat Colts game, it's going to be for playoff positioning in the AFC. And of course, we have an extra team this year, and extra team this year in the playoffs. But it's going to be interesting. So those are big games. Those interdivisional conference rivals. Because don't forget, one of the first tiebreakers is in interconference, and that's a very, very important tiebreaker. And of course, with more teams getting into playoffs, the tiebreaker comes into play even more as those teams near the middle of the pack still have a shot. Away for that squad there, the Pats, again, usual suspect. They got the Cardinals away, the Browns away, the Packers away. That is rough. My Vikings away, the Raiders, and the Steelers. That is a brutal away schedule for the Pats. Belichick's going to be scratching his head a lot. I mean, if you scratch out 9-8 with that schedule, that's a good schedule. And that's where the AFC East is really tough this year. Their schedule is brutal. And that's where the Jets, I think, might be a lot better. And the record might not show it because here in New York, if you make progress and get to 6 or 7 wins, people still jumping off buildings like the Yankee fans right now as their AL East lead is down to 4 games, jumping off buildings. People fail to realize they're missing half their team right now, but fans don't want to hear that. Miami Dolphins, this is the real flux pick, I think, in the division. The Dolphins going to step forward and continue to grow, or are we going to stop playing baby games like we did last year with Tua? All right, we starting this guy, we starting that guy. Start Tua and let him play. If you're not going to do it, get rid of him. Move on to somebody else. Don't mess with these young quarterbacks. Got to give the guy a chance to play. It proves that he can move, prove that he can throw. But, everybody wants the prototypical, 6'5" quarterback. It just doesn't work like that. But the usual for the Dolphins, again, just brutal schedule here. Home games, Browns, Packers, Texans, Vikings, Steelers. The Dolphins got to find a way to get those games. That's why these interdivision games in the AFC East are of extra importance this year. And like away, of course, you got the usual suspects. Then you got the Ravens, the Bears, the Bengals, the Lions, Chargers, and the Niners. That's just brutal for the Dolphins. Got to go play the Chargers on the road. Chargers going to be tough. Jets, again, predicted to be last. I've seen 5.5 for wins. I've seen 3.5 for wins. I've seen 3 for wins, different places. Jets schedule, they open up with the Ravens, which, very, very hard. But, Ravens and Bears at home, Bengals, Lions, and Jacksonville Jaguars. And this is where those games with like the Jets and the Jags, or those 2 teams that were near the bottom of this, those games become nut-cutting games, as I like to call them, because you got to have it if you want to have any success. And we'll talk about that when we do the week 1 preview. We talk about the schedule is such an impact. And like last year, we saw with the Panthers and the Broncos getting up to 3-0 starts and took advantage of that weak schedule, but they still got crushed in the end. And we talked about how the Texans get off to an 0-5 start with just a brutal schedule. Didn't play terrible football. You look up and you're 0-5 and everybody wants to blow it up. Again, those people are fans. That's the root of the word is fanatic, and they just don't understand how it works. And if you're coaching, sometimes you play a good game and you lose. Sometimes you play a poor game and you win. But fans only see the W or the L, and it's one of my favorite quote in sports history is the Friday Night Lights quote. The only difference between winning and losing is how the outside world treats you. And it's 100% correct. Your mistakes as a team are still your mistakes when you watch the film. Your weaknesses are still your weaknesses. Your strengths are still your strengths, and you still made the same mistakes or different mistakes. Doesn't matter. They're mistakes. When you watch the film, if you win or lose, the rest of the world sees it differently. But as a coach, you still got to correct the problem you see whether you win or lose. But the rest of the world doesn't see it like that. Jets road schedule, kind of rough here. Browns, Broncos, Packers, Vikings, Steelers, Seahawks. I mean, good God, that's rough. They got to get that Seahawk game, and you got to hope the Steelers are struggling a little bit. And again, a lot of this is who you play and when you play them. Again, playing the Browns before Deshaun Watson probably would not be great. First couple of weeks might be a good time to play him. But then again, in the middle of the season when they're getting ready for Deshaun to come back and their quarterback has a couple of games under his belt, it's a different situation. It might be a little tougher back then. But again, it's a lot of bad injuries. Hopefully everybody stays healthy. But those are just some brutal games. And like I said, here in New York, Jet fans are excited. I think Saleh's a good coach. I just don't know what Flacco playing quarterback, how this is going to work. I mean, he's, obviously he's handled some things before, but he's a flatliner, as Boomer Esiason here in the morning show in New York always talks about. And Boomer's right. This guy is a flatliner. He's just not going to provide any emotion. And he could do that on the Ravens. They had, guys like Ed Reed and, Ray Lewis who took care of that. But here on the Jets, they need a leader. And I think that they've definitely improved their roster. I think they've done a fine job, but again, fans are tough. So that Raven game, that's how we open up with. That's always a rough situation there. But I had them as the fourth best division. So all I have left now are the two Wests and obviously the AFC North. But I mean, so we'll see who we do next. But I think it's a situation where the divisions are very solid, but at the same time, you're on telling like it is, doing a good job on Apple, all the time. Also on our radio now, you can hear us. Have fun doing this. We'll release another one probably tomorrow, and we'll see what we get. The AFC North, and we'll go from there. We'll see. You have to tune back in. Take a word, give us a comment. Anything, have you on if you want to talk. Let me know. We'll have you on. We'll give you the questions. We'll have fun. It's better when you have a guest. Just hard to get people up early on Sunday morning. That's okay. I'm going to really be up early on Sunday morning. I'm running fall on Sunday morning. But again, really appreciate you coming aboard. Thanks for joining us today. And we'll see you on the road.